yet another episode of Reschool Podcast. This is one episode that is truly near and dear to me. Today we're going to talk about mental health, being mindful, being present, being here, not in the world of the media, not in the world of the phone. And one of the primary reasons why this is so near and dear to me is because I lost someone recently, and I know the pain of not being there for that person. And while there were telltale signs of what is going around, I just couldn't fathom the depth of it. And it hurts and it pains. And I know as a school leader, if there's one thing that we need to equip our children with, is to keep their own selves sane. It is simply to say that the world will take care of itself. Can you simply take care of yourself, at least to begin with? And because we've worked on that for our schools with so much depth, we recently had people from the Tata Institute of Social Science come in and survey all the stakeholders, our students, our parents, our teachers. And then they rated us in terms of our mental health environment. And they gave us gold stars and silver stars. And we're super happy and proud about it. But you know who made that possible? It was our school counselors. It was our teachers who ensured that our children felt safe because the teachers were equipped by those counselors. It was the mental health professionals who every day walked our campus and told us, hey, you need to reach out here. Hey, you need to ensure that this person is looked after. It is these great good Samaritans who make our society better each day. And today, we've been able to gather three wonderful people who are going to talk about what mental health looks like in the world today for students, for people, for the society at large, and where is it that we are headed. And in our customary style, I'm going to introduce all of you to these three wonderful people by asking them to introduce themselves. So, hi, and welcome to the Reschool Podcast.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'd love to start with you, and it's a very simple thing. We would love to know what makes you do what you're doing. Don't tell us what you're doing, but tell us what makes you do and what brought you to doing what you're doing.
Should I start? Sir, you should start first.
Okay, so I am basically a pediatrician looking after the health of the child from birth to 18 years.
Oh, yeah. You are the most sought after person in a parent's life.
Absolutely. Now I started my hospital in the area of Praladnagar satellite in the year 2003, and within 5 years everything was running very smoothly. But daily looking at diarrhea, vomiting, vaccination fever, diarrhea, vomiting, vaccination fever, I felt little uneasy. I started thinking some area of this child needs to be nurtured more. So by that time I come across one book called Ignited Minds by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, where he said that teenagers or adolescents is the future of India. And I realized that pediatricians are not taking good care of them because we are not taught during our curriculum how to take care of their specific issues. So I searched where I can get more information. So there was one distant education program in Kerala University that is called as Postgraduate Diploma in Adolescent Pediatrics. So I did that 2-year distant education program in 2008 and 9, and then I started working with teenagers in these schools. I really got attracted towards their exam fear, about their difficulty in taking care of themselves. But after taking their work, I realized that only teens may not be helpful. Parents are also needed to be included into this area.
So you started from the young ones, then you went to teens, and then you realized, oh, the issue is not here. The issue is with the adult who probably needed a Dr. Nishchal way back when he was a kid.
Absolutely. So I started Parent Teens, a workshop for parents and teenagers in 2012. And I have started actively working in our academy called Adolescent Health Academy India. So I was associated with them, done a lot of workshops, and then the same thing started in Ahmedabad also. So this is how I entered into adolescent health, parents' health, and then gradually mental health of these people.
So if there's a gradual rise or gradual weaning into the profession, I think it's been yours. So I'm sure you've seen it from a large spectrum of people and you have a more cohesive view of what it is. Sometimes when you are an expert, what happens is you know only so much. But coming to a profession or coming to a field from a different field gives you a very different perspective. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Now do you want to start or do I go to?
Yes, I requested him to start because you should listen good one first. So the best part about him, like whatever he has said, I was totally opposite into it. 16, I was one of the most abstract, pathetic, notorious kid. N numbers of mental health issues in my life, which I later on stage I got to know that this is what I have in my life. So I opted out to become a motivational speaker. So I started speaking in schools, colleges, institution, and it's very clear 16 साल के बच्चे को तो कोई stage देने वाला नहीं है. It's very clear. But yeah, I saw many schools who have supported me initially. 4-5 years back down the line, I thought like the mindset, the tenure from Gen Z to Gen Alpha, the mindset, intensity, craving, emotions, everything was getting transformed like anything. And the most worst thing which I have experienced was that politicians were busy in a way, kids were not the vote bank, honestly speaking. Businessmen are busy because their main epicenter is the college students. Okay. Parents are busy into the FOMO culture, right? अब सबसे बड़ा सवाल बचा तो ये 4 से 12 के लिए खड़ा कौन रहेगा? That was the first question which I had. So during the COVID period of the time, I told my dad and my team, okay, let's initiate one season of learning. Like the way people are experiencing summer, winter, monsoon, they should experience one season where they upgrade themselves, they transform themselves, they think beyond themselves, they easily express themselves. So I started from Jammu, and every year I try to call almost around 18 cities and 4 countries in a way. I work in any city for almost around 10 days, from municipal school to IB school, and all the kids, I just teach them 3 things. Learn to ask. Curiosity is something, doesn't matter even if you fail, it will help you out to grow in your life. And third is that you should never feel ashamed when you are failing in your life. I tell all the blunders and failures of my life, and I tell them, if I can do it, you can definitely do it. So that's how it started, and so far we have reached almost around 15 million students and the family. And lastly, I have written one book, जैसे इन्होंने कहा, आपने कहा. So, and your re-school book is there. So I have designed one book in a way. The title of the book is like Parenting and Studenting, Building a Home Culture. But the best part about the book is that first chapter, if parent is reading, the same book has part 2 also, inside it only. The same day, a student also have to read the first chapter. So
then it's more like a, so then it's like a group, a common effort.
Otherwise, words are getting expressed to it. So it was thoroughly, and I was so happy reading the word re-schools. I said, okay, someone has thought about it, and beyond the monotonous orthodox thinking of schooling. So re-school, I love it. So I'm glad to be a part of this podcast. Trust me.
Yeah, there was in 12th pair there was restart. This is re-school.
So what you're saying is that being a child who did not really fit well in the school helped you look at schools differently.
Absolutely.
And today it gives you the confidence to stand up to those same students and say, hey, this institution, this school, or this certificate does not define you. You're probably that person that they look up to, especially the backbenchers, bichare, who are rarely given that opportunity to present themselves well. So thank you so much for doing that. And that brings us to you, my dear.
So I think when I completed my MBBS, the first and foremost question which I always got from my family was, now what next? Now where are you going to pursue your masters? Where are you going to do your MD or MS? And there was a big question because no one in my family is a doctor. Okay. And for them, like this was like, I really want to pursue psychiatry. So for them, it was like, you're running for 10 years, you'll study for 10 years, and then you'll consider MD in psychiatry. So they had a big no-no, that no, not psychiatry. Like you're the first doctor in the family, you either go for gynec, you become a dermatologist, you become a surgeon, not psychiatry. So that is when I realized that there is so much less that people know about mental health. It is so much stigmatized because people don't want to talk about it. When I myself see that there are so many people in my family, my friends, everywhere, I feel there are certain things which needs to be addressed. Their mental health needs to be addressed. But it's like because they don't know much about it, they think that if they'll become much vulnerable, it's somewhere they'll not fit in the society.
They will be weak.
Exactly.
And
everybody wants to fit in the society, the rules of the society, the way it is. You know, things have to be in a certain timeline, things have to be in a certain way. You have to probably behave and do in a certain way. That is how your success is defined. That is how you are defined as a person. Nobody wants to see what is your potential. Nobody wants to really see, you know, what is your journey, what actually makes you do certain things. Nobody is interested in it. Like since my childhood to here, like if I talk about schooling, it's always grades that has been important. You know, 10th ma kitla, I mean, how much did you get in your 10th? How much did you get in your 12th? And in which college did you, from which, did I get such questions? And which was the college from where did you pass out? Because that also shows that status.
So we're constantly signaling, we're constantly telling, oh, this is where I stand. And in our minds, we are also putting people up and down to say that, oh, if you're here, then you check this box. If you're here, then you check this box.
Exactly. So this was one such area where I rebelliously took it, that I'll consider masters only in psychiatry, otherwise I won't consider it at all. And then my mom was like, do it.
Do it.
It's okay. We are okay with it. And somewhere I feel that while pursuing my residency and while doing my residency, I was a completely naive about that particular idea, because I always saw mental health as anxiety, depression, addiction.
There are these like 4 buzzwords.
Yes, that's it. That's what people know about, and that's what people generally talk about. When I actually went into the depth, I saw that there is so much to it. When I see so many people compromised with their immunity, when they have a lot of infections, like Sir said, you know, they are physically ill. That is also because they need fixation of their mental health. So that is when I felt that this topic, mental health per se, requires so much to be addressed. It should be addressed everywhere. It's like people just have a superficial knowledge of it, but it should be known to them, because that is a major factor for them to reach that potential, for them to know the purpose of their life. That is what it is. And then
one thing led to another.
Yes, by the end of my 3rd year, I got my interest in adolescent mental health, because I really felt that that is the age. If I talk about myself also, I was a very rebellious teenager. I don't look like it right now, but I was. I did not used to understand a lot of things which used to happen to me. And by then, you know, you teenagers generally seem to be very aggressive, very less understood. They have tantrums here and there, everything, but those are all normal things. That is something they actually exhibit. So then I realized it, I knew about it, and a lot of things start from teenage years and adolescent years, whether it being addiction or whether it being any other mental health condition. It may root from those particular years. So then I started, you know, going to colleges, schools, trying to know a little more about it from the people themselves, from the students themselves. And I got to know, and I'm so happy when I see them at that pace, sharing everything and telling me a lot of things. And I feel adolescent mental health is something which is very important, because if you stop certain things, you rewire certain things in a way. If you look at the cognitive distortions which they have from their childhood, and you try to, you know, somewhere sort it, they will be sorted for the rest of their lives. They will know the purpose of their life. And
how I wish there was like this toolbox, and we could just get somebody and rewire them, like you know. So this gives me an insight into understanding that mental health, while some of it is inherited and some of it is acquired from our environment, can be rewired. That we have the agency to relook at things. But as practitioners, I'm sure there have been moments when you have felt helpless or you have felt overwhelmed. Would you mind sharing one instance, and all of you, I'll come back to, where you felt that, oh my God, what am I facing and how am I going to deal with this? Any one case, any one person who you believed that this was something that either I was meant to do for this person, or this is something that I am not equipped to do and I will have to go back to square one to understand what I'm dealing with.
So I'll just share this incident. It's not something which is not fixable, but like you said, that mental health conditions are genetic. They are genetic, and that is why you need to be treated at a particular time. When you do not know, when you gap a certain way, then it is difficult for that particular condition to be treated. So I had this patient, and he always used to complain. He was just 18 years old, and he was, I think, going to get admitted in first year of engineering, and he just came with me with complaints of, I just have suicidal thoughts. I'm like, how can you have suicidal thoughts? Like, that cannot be the first symptom you have, right? You can at least start with feeling dull, you don't like anything, you don't want to talk to anyone. So it could be low mood, disinterest, vegetative symptoms like not feeling, not being able to sleep, sleeping more, or eating more or less, all those symptoms, feeling lack of confidence, and a lot of symptoms like that. But how come just suicidal? So I tried to run through his history. I said, tell me, whether do you have a family history? So he said, yes, my mom died by suicide. So I said, okay, any other family history? So he said, yes, my grandmother, she died of suicide. So I said, okay, so here he has a strong genetic propensity towards suicide, and that is why that when he is having a major depressive disorder, he is exhibiting suicidal symptoms in an early phase. And then we started him on antidepressant without wasting much time, because sometimes if you waste and if you just let it flow, people would do it. It's the impulse. You cannot really help anywhere, you cannot do anywhere. I have seen patients where you really help them and then they take overdose of those medications, and ultimately they do it what they have to. So here is something where we feel quite helpless, that what exactly, I mean, if you really try to admit them and start on some, if you start them on BPT treatment, probably, you might have saved them. But these are the
kind of moral conundrums that you face.
Yes, I would want to share one more incident.
Yes,
this child was 15, 16, and he just came to our casualty, and he was alone. He was, I think, accompanied by one of his friends. And that time there was a game called Shark.
Yes.
Blue whale.
Yeah. Blue whale.
It was like that. So he had this whale on his wrist. And so this was the first thing, and so everybody was calling us, call a psychiatrist, we are not able to understand what is happening to this child. And he was very irritable, and he did not know what to do. He was constantly just, that thing he had done with a blade, so it was bleeding. And then he was not allowing anybody to just touch him or do anything to him, give him any injectables, any medicines. And then when we tried addressing him, made him calm down, talk to us. And he was like, what exactly, why did you do this? So he said that, see, this is a game, and the game's end is where I have to kill myself. I have to kill somebody else and then I have to kill myself, something like that. So I'm like, so did you really kill somebody? So I'm contemplating, and then I will eventually do this to myself. Why? What is the reason? Why do you want to do it? So after a lot of questions, first his father rushed in, and his father was like, what happened? Why suddenly this? And he had not seen his father for like straight 6 months. And then his mother rushed in, and the mother lives with the child. The parents are separated, and then parents were fighting amongst themselves. They were not paying attention to the child, what exactly is going on. They were blaming each other that it was because of you. Then I asked the child that, is this the reason? Because your parents are separated? Is it so that you're going through a tough phase and a rough patch in your life where you don't want to? So we tried to get out all the depressive symptoms. He mentioned all those symptoms, but then along with that, he told us that when he was a child, he was physically and sexually abused by a lot of children in his school. He told me that entire incident which happened on the terrace of the school and which was very brutal. And the way they used to abuse him on daily basis. And to an extent, when the child has seen a lot of things, from that to the separation of the parents, to a lot of turmoil happening, to the school, the tuitions, everything. And then ultimately, after all that, he has decided to go through some gaming zone, some sort of, addiction in his life, and now he wants to end his life. So there are so many underlying things. It was so difficult to treat that particular patient because he was 15 or 16. We cannot treat him with BPT. So you have to treat him like faster, but no other faster mode of action was available. So we were just trying to get hold on him so that he does not do anything wrong and things just settle. And eventually we did try to help him, but not much success.
A lot of times we believe that this happens only in urban areas, or this happens only to people of the rich and the fancy and all of that. And I have seen these mental health issues across the societal strata and all of that. And we do have kids often who will start suddenly wearing long sleeves, who will suddenly start covering their wrists and all of that. And now we have equipped ourselves, and now we have the lens to look at it and say, oh, but this is not normal. In the Ahmedabad heat of 40 degrees, nobody wears a full sleeves. If the child is consistently wearing it for multiple days,
they have the cut marks.
They have cut marks and all of that. So then we slowly prod in, and we have friends intervene, and then we kind of see. But one of the biggest dilemmas we face as schools is the child confides in us. But the child confides with the only condition that don't tell the parent. Confidentiality. And then we really don't know how to deal with it. Because if we don't tell the parent, we are in the wrong. If we tell the parent, the child never trusts us. But we do not have the capacity to help the child until and unless we have the parent on board. So yeah, this is what school leaders deal with. And then we have things like, ye attendance mark kar lo, ye kar lo, wo kar lo, ye exam ka average dekh lo. I'm like, I don't want to do any of it. Like, here's a child who's in dire need of all those things, and it becomes our moral duty to just be there for them. So yeah, coming back to you, sir.
Yeah, so I'll just start with two things which Dr. Yatri was telling about it. 80 to 85% of the physical illness has its root in its mental health.
Seriously?
Absolutely.
So you're saying all the usual physical illnesses as well, the standard ones of say
normal, like you have a backache. There is some thought going on in your mind which is causing that.
Oh.
If you go deep into it, then you can definitely work on it.
Okay.
If you have frequent ulcers, if you have frequent diarrheas, if
acidity.
you have knee pain, acidity, headaches,
okay.
there are some thought issues which is going on, your feeling issues which is going on, which you even don't know.
Okay.
So you come to know about it and you work on your thoughts, you can 100% clear those things.
True.
See why since last so many years we are having more of heart attacks, more of cancers which is coming up very fast. It's all because of in last 20-25 years there is a tsunami of information.
Okay.
And that information is causing how we think about the life.
Okay.
90% of this information is negative information because all social medias, newsprints and other medias work on this.
Okay.
Majority of the teenagers and parents are used by social media. They don't use social media. So that is the issue. So this is one thing which I want to bring into the notice, that every person, what you are consuming day in and day out through your eyes, through your ears and through your tongue, we need to be careful about it because everything
So
has...
it's not just the junk food that you are ingesting,
No.
it is the junk thought, it is the junk voice.
Voice and the eyes, what you see day in day out. If you can take care of that regularly, then you can definitely take care of your thoughts. That is one thing. So psychosomatic illnesses are very,
I'm
very
so glad I
huge.
don't read newspapers.
Very nice. I tell
The only thing I read in newspapers is editorials. So I look at the front page and I switch to editorials.
editorials. Absolutely. I always tell to all teenagers and parents, उठ के एटलीस्ट 1 घंटा तो मत ही सुनो, देखो। उस दौरान आप अपने फिजिकल हेल्थ का केयर कर सकते हो, आप अच्छा रीड कर सकते हो, आप अपने फैमिली के साथ बैठ के चाय पी सकते हो। दैट विल गिव यू
सबसे पहले फोन निकलता है ना।
दैट इज व्हाट। रात को भी उठते हैं तो हमें लगता है पीएमओ से कोई मैसेज आया होगा हम छूट जाएंगे। तो हम वो रात को आधी रात को उठ के देखते हैं, वो नहीं करना चाहिए। दैट इज़ फर्स्ट थिंग। सेकेंड, व्हाट आई वांटेड टू टेल यू इज़ अबाउट इमोशनल एस्पेक्ट ऑफ थिंग्स। हम लोग हमेशा इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंस की बात करते हैं, इमोशनल क्वोशंट की बात करते हैं। आई टॉक अबाउट इमोशनल इंडिपेंडेंस। मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द टाइम हम ऐसा सोचते हैं कि हमारे थॉट्स एंड फीलिंग्स एक्सटर्नल सर्कमस्टेंसेस के ऊपर डिपेंडेंट है। किसी ने कुछ बोला, हर्ट हो गया, किसी ने कुछ बोला,
Oh,
दुखी
but
हो
you
गया।
did this to me.
हाँ, बट इट इज़ नॉट द राइट वे ऑफ थिंकिंग।
True.
वो कुछ हुआ, उसके बाद मैंने उसको कैसे प्रोसेस किया, दैट गिव्स मी माई थिंकिंग, माई फीलिंग एंड इन टर्न माई यूनिवर्स। सो इट इज़ ऑलवेज डिपेंडेंट ऑन माई सेल्फ. So if I can create that minutes by minutes and become emotional independence, I can see every aspects of that particular incident in different ways, so I can respond that way.
True.
And then
Otherwise,
outcome
I
will
end
be
up reacting.
every time I end up reacting. So I always teach one equation called E plus R is equal to O. Events is E plus R is my response, and that will create my outcome. I don't have any control on events happening in my life, but I have always control of how I respond to that event, so that gives me exact outcome that I wish to create in that situation. So कोई भी situation में, अच्छी situation में लोग बुरा भी देख सकते हैं, तो हम बुरे से बुरी situation में अच्छा क्यों नहीं देखते? अगर वो mindset create किया है, so खुश रहना हमेशा possible है.
True. So, in conjunction of that, what we do is, I'm sure you have read about it, but we practice something called the nonviolent communication, NVC, and it's a mandatory read for all our school leaders, and we are constantly asking ourselves that, is this a judgment or is this an observation? Am I evaluating things or am I only looking at it as an observation? Because only and only when I start looking at situations as observations, she is angry with me. A simple statement like she's angry with me, and we will ask people, is this an observation or a judgment? And most people will say that, oh, it's an observation, like she is angry. And it takes us so much time to tell that anger, as you perceive it, is a judgment, that you are deriving it from the frowny eyes, from the pulled up eyebrows and all of it. And then how do you look at your needs and how do you look at your feelings? Emotional literacy for us is such a difficult thing to get through, but it is so much easier to get through to children than to get through to parents, because children become a little more literate. They understand, but the adult, oh my God.
Another thing which she said is very important, to take care of physical and mental health of adolescent. You get 3 dividends out of it. Those adolescents will be healthy, then they will become adult who will be very healthy.
Who will be creating healthier families.
And then there will be third generation that they will be producing.
That
So if you take care of these children between 10 to 18,
you take care of a generation.
And India is demographically the most young country today.
Agree.
But unfortunately, every 4th Indian is suffering from anxiety and depression. That is another side of the story. So we have to work more.
True. We need many more of you.
And trust me, sorry sir.
Yeah, for sure.
Tame je kidun, I'm just continuing it. Trust me, when you try to rewire an adolescent's brain, it's quite easier. Quite easier, because at a certain point, if I'm turning 20, 25, it will be difficult. With age, a person's brain becomes more stubborn.
Oh yeah.
To take up
I have
certain
such a
things.
difficult time having my father to do something as opposed to having my child do something.
Exactly.
My father is like, not happening.
A child will listen to you, a child will reciprocate, a child will try to change certain things, and rewiring is much easier. With advancing age, things will be very stubborn. They will just have this attitude of complaining. They will not absorb what you are trying to, and they will not reciprocate it. And that is why no major change will be able to create.
And that brings us to you, Sajan. So tell us about an incident, or tell us about something that really moved you, something that you're grateful for.
Ma'am, I'll say 3 things,
Okay.
but it will be very specific. पहली तो चीज़ ऐसी है कि लोग इन तक पहुँचते ही नहीं है. That is my biggest problem. अब मेरे जैसे या फिर जो भी, I can consider myself as a normal middle class guy,
Okay.
right? From my upbringing to right now, I've grown in my life. So for me, mental health is already a psychological problem. That's what society thinks, to be very honest. So you can chop any one of the example in from your podcast. That is completely personal choice. My 3 incident which has moved me like anything. પણ એ તમારી personal choice છે. તમે રાખી શકો છો, ઉડાડી શકો છો. 5 years back, Pune, one of the biggest spiritual guru at the age of 99 was doing podcast and interview series. बहुत बड़े बड़े नाम उसके अंदर इनिशियली थे. सो करण जौहर वॉज वन नेम, बोमन ईरानी वॉज वन नेम. सो 90th एपिसोड वॉज टेकन बाई मी, 100th एपिसोड वॉज टेकन बाई करण जौहर, देन सो कॉल्ड 99 years spiritual leader, interfaith leader. So I'm not pinpointing the name, but people understand मैं किसकी बात कर रहा हूँ. So I asked him, मैंने उनको पूछा कि आप 99 years की एज में हो, you have seen all the wisdom of life. गुरुजी मेरे पास एक लड़की आई थी, शी वॉज इन 11th grade. मैं आनंद करके एक सिटी है छोटा अहमदाबाद के पास में, वहाँ पर मैं एक प्रोग्राम दे रहा था और उसको समझा रहा था कि बेटा पेरेंटिंग होम कल्चर का इंपॉर्टेंस क्या है. तो लड़की मेरे पास आई और बोली कि भैया आपने जो बताया ना बड़ा सेंसिबल था, बट माई फादर हैज़ मोलेस्टेड मी एंड आई बिलोंग टू दिस कम्युनिटी एंड आई स्टे इन लाइक 2 BHK होम. सो माई मॉम सेड दैट कि हमको है ना पुलिस में नहीं जाना है, हम पापा के साथ बात नहीं करेंगे, तो हम अलग रूम में रहेंगे. तो मॉम स्टेड विथ मी फॉर 6 months. बट पापा और मम्मी का तो वापस सेट हो गया. बट स्टिल टुडे व्हेन आई सी माय डैड, मुझे वो सारे इंसिडेंट दिमाग में याद आते. तो साजन भैया मुझे क्या करना चाहिए कि शुड आई रिस्पेक्ट माय डैड और नॉट. सो आई आस्क्ड द जेंटलमैन, द नॉट अलाइव राइट नाउ, तो व्हाट इज योर टेक इनटू इट. आई एम सॉरी फॉर माय लैंग्वेज, बट ही सेड लाइक यार इधर को इसको है ना इधर से कट कर दे. तो आई डिडंट अंडरस्टूड फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम. मैंने बोला आप कहना क्या चाहते हो. बोले छोड़ना यार, कहाँ ये सब कंट्रोवर्सी में गिरने का. बाबा 99 years of experience and wisdom of your life. So number one, the worst thing which I experienced in my life is that कि I feel like people like you who is doing such talk show, interfaith leaders के जिनको लाखों लोग सुनते हैं, same goes with political or actors or whomsoever they are, don't make mental health your PR. Number one. Number two, there is one very famous foundation of the country which has been a good marketing PRO, Live Love Dash Foundation. So I got several mental health patients in a way because talking about both the doctors, they stay in one area, so area has the limit. I travel every year almost to 18 cities. Every week I deal with almost around 70,000-80,000 kids and I tell them कि you talk with us, it is okay. मैंने भी देखा न्यूज़ पेपर में कि ये बहुत अच्छा फाउंडेशन ये वो था, सजेस्टेड हो गया 5-6 पीपल है, काम करो, कॉल करो, टेक द हेल्प. फ़ोन उठा नहीं रहे. सो फाउंडेशन का नाम बड़ा है. तो आई पर्सनली ट्राइड, ओके आई विल डू अ 7 days ट्रायल एवरी सिंगल डे ऑन अ डिफरेंट टाइम पोर्शन एंड फ्रॉम अ डिफरेंट नंबर. आई विल गिव देम अ कॉल. मैंने 25 कॉल किए, तब एक कॉल उठाया और बोला कि हाँ ठीक है अभी हम बात करवाते हो. वो दिन और आज का दिन कभी भी कॉल नहीं आया. सेकेंड थिंग, so
there's a lot of hogwash and there's a lot of garnering of attention and eyeballs in the name of mental health.
Absolutely,
but the
yes,
actual work that needs to be done
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
is
ma'am.
is
Yes,
not
ma'am.
being.
And last thing is that like I was very happy listening that okay your school have this mental health counselors and every other thing. Many school might be having this mental health counselor. But ma'am the thing is that कि हम जो कल्चर इंक्यूबेट कर रहे हैं इस कंट्री के अंदर. आई डिड माई लास्ट प्रोग्राम इन मेलबर्न ऑलमोस्ट अराउंड 4 months बैक, माइट बी इन द मंथ ऑफ अप्रैल में. तो आप इनको ज़्यादा रिलेट कर पाओगे. सो दिस पीपल हैव सच सिचुएशन एंड थिंग इन देयर स्कूल कि अगर स्कूल के अंदर बच्चा चीखा और अग्रेसिव हुआ तो स्कूल से निकाल दो, पहले उसको इधर से काउंसलिंग करो, इसको ठीक करो, इधर से बाद में हिल कम बैक टू द स्कूल. सो माई थिंकिंग वॉज दैट कि अगर 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th ईयर्स की जो भी एज ग्रुप है, अब नेचुरल इमोशन एक्सप्रेशंस तो होने वाले. द प्रॉब्लम इज नॉट ऑफ द किड, प्रॉब्लम इज ऑफ द पेरेंट दैट दे आर नॉट एबल टू डील विद द इमोशनल एक्सप्रेशन. सो द रीजन व्हाई आई सेड थर्ड point was that the next podcast you can do for this. So, let the parents also know that okay how to actually tackle the expressions of the emotion what the kids are saying. So these 3 are, I feel for me it is an helpless thing because सुधरने वाले लोग नहीं हैं. दिमाग वाले जो लोग हैं उनके पास लोग जाते डरते हैं, राइट. एंड दोनों के बीच में जो 50% आई कम 50% यू टू कम इनटू दैट, तो वहाँ पर लोग जाते हैं बट लोग उसको कैजुअली ले लेते हैं.
Yeah, they
Sorry
will.
if I have said
No,
anything
you're
wrong,
right.
but I feel like जो भी लोग आपके
So-
वीडियो देख रहे हैं, Please.
Yeah, here's a call to all of you. Please go and speak to some mental health
Absolutely,
professional.
yes.
If you can't speak to anybody, speak to Mr. Sajan. But that brings me back to the idea of saying, we've discussed the problem, we've seen the spread that is there, we've seen the depth. What do we do about it? How do we solve this? So what do you suggest we could do to alleviate it, to address it?
I'll say three things, very short, cut short, very good dialogues, might be you will love those dialogues. Number one, I have read somewhere a way back कि अगर समय आने पर दिल खोल दिया होता दोस्तों के साथ तो आज नहीं खोलना पड़ता औजारों के साथ. Number one, pretty lame but it has a very good depthful meaning. Second thing, to all the kids, young people, you have a relationship issue, you have done some sort of loss, you have played a blue whale game or nowadays aviator type of games and all this thing. माँ बाप होते हैं, that I understand, but it is okay to express. Let people judge you, let people say n number of shittiest thing for your weight, for your height, for your color, for your beauty. अगर looks ही इतने important जिंदगी में होते, then not even a single person on this planet can say कि Mother Teresa is one of the most beautiful human on this planet. So come out of all these crap things, especially all the social media people. 10 दिन में वजन कम करना है, इधर को ऐसा देखना, ये क्रीम लगाओ, वो क्रीम लगाओ. It impacts. And last thing, to all the young people, it is okay to fail and get judged. Like, you judge me in whatever way you want to, I don't mind it. Unless until you don't accept that judgment, you won't feel any harm. That is my three things.
Okay,
for
great.
your audience.
So what you're saying is that you will have to develop the mental capacity to deal with it, because these things are going to keep coming your way. You'll have to learn to express, you will have to learn to signal out or to just wash out certain things that you do not want them to enter your psyche. But honestly, I don't think a lot of people are able to do that, because that mental fortitude that you need, that is broken so early. While we would love to have people express, I have seen people struggle, young children struggle with even writing what they are feeling. Forget talking about it to others. For them to even express it in their own private space, in a washroom, on a notebook, on a pen and paper, is also an issue. So, while I'd love to have everybody with this kind of go-getter spirit and like, हाँ देखा जाएगा, दो दोस्तों से बात कर लो type of thing, it's so overwhelming. The loneliness that sets in. A recent book I read, it's Together by Vivek Murthy, and it talks about how loneliness is a vicious space, but what it also does is it makes you lonelier, because you're lonely and you seek company, but it keeps you there. It doesn't let you step out and speak up and all of that. So that brings me to you to say, how do we address this? Because मेरे पास तो इसका जवाब है नहीं. तो अगर आप दोनों में से किसी के पास हो, आपके पास भी हो, तो भी बताइए.
Yeah, I'll start with one more equation.
अच्छा, आप mathematician. He is not just a doctor and a pediatrician and all of that. He is a mathematician.
Stress is equal to pressure upon resilience. We cannot control the pressure which comes from outside. When we can increase our resilience day by day by thinking about what I am thinking. And I'll tell three things about in children as well as in parent. The first and foremost important thing is family connectedness, from children to parent and from parent to children. Majority of the time what is happening today is we expect children to do what they have not seen in their parents. So parents should be role model in that. जो हम अपने बच्चों से चाहते हैं कि वो करे, वो हमें डेमोन्स्ट्रेट करना पड़ेगा. हम क्या करते हैं, बोलते हैं ये करो, लेकिन हम कुछ और करते हैं. That is first thing.
10 વાગ્યા પછી ટીવી નહીં જોવાનું,
હા,
but
પણ
મેરા તો
હું
Netflix
12 વાગ્યા
10:30 પર
સુધી
શરૂ
હા
હોતા.
જોયા કરું. એટલે ઘણી વખત આપણે બહુ જ નાના બાળકોને અમારા ત્યાં વેક્સિન માટે આવે ને, ત્યારે while giving vaccine to that 6-month-old child, parents show them YouTube. And same bachcha becomes addicted to phone at 15, they cry. But who started it? You only. So you have to be careful about how do you deal. बच्चा आप जो बोलते हैं वो नहीं करता है, वो आप जो करते हो वो ही करता है. So that is family connected, created by parents with the children and children with the parents. Then the communication becomes easier, because then there is no judgment, there is no interpretation, there is no comparison, there is no complaints about other child and this child. So that is first thing. Second, a basic spirituality in the family. I am not talking about religiousness, I am talking about spirituality. Life क्या है, कैसे जीना है, मेरा life purpose क्या है.
So discussion about values,
Values,
discussion about
morals,
what is right, what is
etiquettes, ethics, about how you take care of your own physical health, mental health, ये सारी जो चीज़ें हैं वो अगर basic spirituality घर पर है, that will also create lot of mental resilience in the children because they know ये कर सकते हैं, ये नहीं कर सकते हैं, और वो हमने demonstrate करके दिखाया हुआ है, नहीं के बोल के दिखाया हुआ है. And third and most important thing for child is to develop extracurricular art in some area. Could be sport, could be some musical instrument, could be something like painting, drawing, something of this sorts. If a child has some extracurricular speciality in this area, child will develop lot of life skills. Because अगर मैं तबला बजाना सीख रहा हूँ तो I need to gather many things to learn that. ग्रुप में काम करना पड़ेगा, टीचर से सीखना पड़ेगा, मुझे वहाँ पे प्रैक्टिस करनी पड़ेगी, उसमें रेजिलियंस आना पड़ेगा, अच्छा नहीं लाएगा फिर भी करना पड़ेगा. सो मेनी थिंग्स कम्स आउट ऑफ इट. सो अ फॉर्म ऑफ आर्ट अलॉन्ग विद करिकुलर एजुकेशन, ये तीन चीज़ों को अगर हमने केयर कर लिया ना, रेजिलियंस विल कम ऑटोमेटिकली. अगर मेरा रेजिलियंस अच्छा है ना, कोई भी प्रेशर मुझे स्ट्रेस नहीं दिला पाएगा. I will be in huge stress area, well I'll perform better because of that stress, but I'll not feel depressed in that stress. So हमें ये चीज़ डेवलप करनी है in the family, in the parents, in the children. अगर ये करेंगे, मुझे लग रहा है कि हम प्रिवेंशन पे ज़्यादा फोकस करें rather than जो हो चुका है उसको ट्रीट करने में. I always believe in that.
So what you're saying is that if the family as a unit can come together
Absolutely.
and at least begin to talk.
Absolutely.
Once you begin to talk and connect with each other, then you can talk morals, then you can talk values, then you can talk ethics and all of that.
Correct.
But to begin with, just having some time without the pacifier of gadgets and all of that, if we can just come together and spend some time with each other, not just besides each other, that usually happens, then that would be the first step to building a resilient mental health.
Absolutely.
But that sometimes I also feel that well, we want the adult to do all of that. The adult is also a product of his or her own.
Absolutely.
Right. The adult also goes back to the genetic traits they have derived or the learned traits that they have come up with. So honestly, oftentimes for a long time, and even today, courage is a very important value to me. But as I grow, I think compassion is becoming a greater value. I realize that all of us are just grappling with things and trying to balance things out. So everything is like sticking with a band-aid. You know? So I just try and hold my horses before I decide, "Okay, you idiot, you didn't do this, blah, 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 blah."
I know.
Which still happens to me very often. So yes, I'd love to know.
So what I feel is that in today's time where we're probably trying to sell the stereotypes and in a way where we are endorsing the stereotypes and trying to break those stereotypes. You know,
Okay,
it's
can
so
you
easy.
expand on that?
I'll tell you, the way we, like he said, that we are trying to, this is how you're supposed to look, this is how your skin should be, this is how, your height should be, this is how things should be. Those are stereotypes. So here we are trying to break them, but somewhere we endorse it.
Sure. The
Right.
more we talk about it, the more it gets ingrained.
We are endorsing it. We are trying to pity a person. So this is something which a child understands. A child is not stupid. When you say that, when we're talking about a child and adolescent, I think they are very smart. They grasp things from your expressions, from everything, whether you're lying, whether what you want to do, whether you're faking
You
things.
come home and if you've had a bad day, the child tells. The first thing the child knows is you're not okay. Like you have just stepped inside and the child knows.
So basically what you are doing is you're confusing the child.
Absolutely, yes.
Right? Because whatever in this hypocrite society, I
Very
include
true.
that in me, and I mean me in that as well. But
Yeah, all of us are a part
so
of
we are confusing the child. And like you said, that the adults are also the product of that childhood. Most of the child are seen complaining about their parents that this is how it is, I cannot forgive them because they have never validated me, they have done this to me, because of that I am like this at this state. So sometimes I have to explain them, and everybody should explain them that you should forgive your parents and move on, because they are at a space, they became parents at a particular age, at a particular time,
They
are
are also
still
victims.
growing, you know, they are still learning things, and I think they should be, you know, yes, they should be forgiven. And I really feel
I think
that
there should be a license for becoming a parent. Your driving ka license.
yes. People think that becoming parents is a, you know, because the biological clock is ticking, you should become parent. It's not like that. You should become, it's a big responsibility. You should think of becoming a parent when you are really ready for it, because otherwise a child is always going to blame you for certain things.
Yeah, yeah.
I always
Same goes
tell,
with marriage too.
I always,
agree.
I always
Yeah.
tell that from peon to pilot, you need training and certificate,
Yes.
but for parent, you don't need that. You become
Also, we've left the entire idea of next generation. Oh, they're going to figure things out on their own.
yeah.
And then we're like, oh, why did that happen? Of course, that was bound to happen.
Yes. Also in this confusion which we are talking of, that, you know, they just, I mean, we are confusing them more with all these things. We are confusing them with the productivity also. We want them to be productive every single point of their life, every day.
हाँ, आज ऐसे करियो, इसका क्या हुआ, उसका क्या हुआ, ये कहाँ पहुँचा?
To-do list.
Yeah, to-do list. It's not possible. It's not possible to be productive every day. Yeah, you learn new things every day. Make that productive. If you are learning something new, even if it's a simple thing, when you're just talking to somebody and you learn something out of it and you observe something out of it, that could be productive. But expecting your every day to be productive is
Doesn't
very
work.
difficult. And then imbibing that into a child, where a child also learns that if I'm not productive, I should feel guilty about it.
Okay,
That
so then
is-
tell us, so what are your ideas on how do you make it better?
Okay.
Like he shared 2 or 3 ideas, he shared a few ideas. So what do you think we can do
So
within
that's
our own
what-
gamut of influence?
That's what I feel, that these things should be known to them.
So just
That's-
basic awareness.
Awareness is very important. They should know all these things, that, you know, you don't have to be productive every single day. It is okay to just have that day where it is for yourself, it is for people around you. Enjoy that. Like Sir said, that cultivate a hobby. Like what he said cultivate a hobby, because it actually, develops the other cerebral hemisphere of your brain, which is very necessary. You cannot just do on the things which is academic. You have to learn, have a hobby, which, whether playing a musical instrument, whether just going and dancing, there's so many other activities going on. That is very important for them to do. So, in my opinion, cultivating a hobby is very important for all children, all teenagers. That hobby can be anything, whether to learn a new musical instrument, whether, you know, you want to cultivate a hobby of your dance, singing, anything, which can impact the development of the other cerebral hemisphere. We're always focusing more on the academics, and, you know, we just want that to be the focus. But this should be given that equal importance.
Great. Thank you so much for these wonderful tips. But remember, we are in the Reschool podcast. So today I want to learn from you, what is it that we as schools and school leaders could do differently? What is it that we need to reschool ourselves? And it's not just about our particular school. In general, what is it that schools need to do differently in order to ensure that our next generation comes out a little more resilient, a little happier, and comes out to build a better society? So, yeah, do you want to take turns, or should I do cold calling like a teacher?
Nah, I'll start.
Okay.
You should stop PTM. Instead of PTM, you should start grandparent TM.
All right.
Because grandparents have that sustenance, that wisdom, that
Okay.
patience, and because दो चीज़ होता है ना, एक तो production, manufacturer and product, तो double experience.
Okay.
And naturally grandparents have that.
Oh, I love that idea. So,
That wisdom.
don't just have a PTM, but have a grand PTM.
parent and grandparent
Parent and
PTM.
grandparent.
They're
Oh my God, they
separate.
would only end up fighting. The child would be like,
No,
yeah.
it will be separate.
Oh,
Because
साथ में नहीं कर सकते.
माँ बाप को तो ये 4 बार पूछेगा, 5वीं बार तो फ्रस्ट्रेट हो जाएंगे. ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स हैव दैट पेशेंस के भाई वो सेम टू सेम सवाल 50 बार भी पूछेगा. ही नोज दादा दादू और नाना नानी विल एक्सप्लेन in a very subtle and easiest way. Number one, my personal suggestion was this.
No, I didn't understand. So you're saying the grandparents are called to the PTM? No?
Parents PTM जो आप कर रहे हो ना, parents
हाँ.
teachers meeting वाला,
हाँ.
वो concept
Cancel.
Cancel.
Okay.
Instead of parents, you call grandparents.
Grandparents and the child and the grandchild.
Yeah, and the grandchild. So this combination is a good go combination. And second thing is that whenever you go for any this અને શું કહેવાય આપણે સમર પિકનિક્સ સો સોરી સો પિકનિકની અંદર છે ને I personally feel in this way because it has now started into school, not in your school but many schools. Parent ask school admission area or people कि मेरा बच्चा जिसके बाजू में बैठाने वाला है या बैठ रहा है वो कौन सी कास्ट से है. This has started in India. Sorry to say, but yes, it has started in India. So
you got to be kidding me. The parents
no,
call up
yes.
and ask in a field visit or in a school tour, my child is going to share the bus or the
not
room.
only in picnic, in general also in your class also कि मेरा बच्चा किसके बाजू में बैठ रहा है उसका रिलीजन कौन सा है. It has started in India.
Oh my God.
So my personal suggestion is that कि I have visited almost around 5,000, 6,000 school in my career. So interfaith prayer is very much important to understand and respect all the religion, because I feel in this way humanity has to come first, country has to come second, and religion has to come third. So if we imbibe this three ideology into the young kids, might be James will be actually the James,
so
and Harry school will be a good idea for the entire world.
So this idea of saying that the other person is a human first and then probably all layers of identity that you want to add to them you can,
Yes, ma'am.
has to start with schools.
And I feel like people like you, to be very honest, I said, I'm taking 1 minute, but I said, sir, like the moment I met him, I was very surprised. I was super excited in a way when I felt like a thought leader who is incubating every single year 500, 1,000 kids of the schools, some sort of a different thought pattern. So I told him this thing. It is very surprising for me to listen that some thought leader of a school is asking different people, like they are talking and she is helping the community, the world, or through the YouTube channel or social media to think upon the thought pattern which they have. So I feel like to all the viewers, at least show this podcast and show her profile to
Thank you for endorsing it.
no, very good thing. Every teacher or every school should do this thing.
It's just about saying that pehla school leaders were required to imbibe basic literacy and numeracy.
Ma'am, true, ma'am.
Saksharta noti. You had to start with that.
Yes, ma'am.
Now that that is established, you need to reinvent yourself to say, because honestly, children come to us, but they come pre-installed with ABC and 1, 2, 3. By the time the child comes to us at the age 3, the parent has managed to teach them nursery rhymes and jumping here and there. And it's just
all
silly.
are helicopter parents, no ma'am?
Yeah. So yeah, I loved your idea about a prayer and all that. You know, in our school, we have a prayer which is just 5 lines and very basic. It just says something like, "Dear God, thank you for making me a part of this world."
Oh, lovely.
It's so amazing. There's so much to do, so much to discover. Because, well, I love the depth that our religious prayers bring in. They bring no meaning to the child. The child is just reciting without really understanding what this stands for. So for us, our prayer is a very basic 15-30 second prayer, where there is just a sense of gratitude and gratitude to say that I'm just glad I exist, I have friends, I have people, I have this world to see and to discover and to build. So, but
True, ma'am.
I'm happy.
So first thing that he said is very important, and I said it's spirituality. Basic spirituality should be there, then the humanity, values and everything will follow just like that. Then we are not giving importance to any religious practices. It is just a basic spirituality. Add to what he has said, I would definitely encourage schools to start interacting with parents more, rather than
Not the grandparents.
grandparents. પેરેન્ટ્સ સંભાળી જશે ને તો ગ્રાન્ડ પેરેન્ટ્સ સંભાળી જશે, મને એવું લાગે છે. Today teachers or the school authorities are not okay communicating with parents. That is what I have heard, because they have lot of issues with the school authorities, and school authorities, they don't want to listen to them or solve them. What I would do is, rather than going away from them, you increase number of time you meet with them, Parent teachers meeting is okay, that is to let them know about what child is doing, what is great, what is that. But along with that, you can create a 15, 20, 30-minute talk of some experts. Those who talk about parenting, those who talk about mental health, those who talk about physical health, those who talk about how extracurricular activities is important for the child. If that will happen, the learning of the child will be very fast. What happening today is schools and universities are giving only education and degrees. The basic life skills
Using
to
which
live
they
the
do nothing.
basic life skills to live the life is not imparted. और वो घर पर भी नहीं मिल रही है, because बच्चे कुछ नहीं कर रहे हैं, अपने आप करना है. और इसीलिए जैसे वो MBBS में जाते हैं, इंजीनियरिंग में जाते हैं या कॉलेज में जाते हैं, इन्होंने जो बोला ना, एंग्जाइटी, डिप्रेशन, सुसाइडल थॉट, एंड वी सी सुसाइड्स in young MBBS and MD students as well as engineering students, which should not happen. So, a frequent meetings with the parents.
What you're saying is that if as school leaders we can keep the communication channels open. And not just call the parent and reprimand them in the name of PTMs.
True.
Not just call them when either the fee is pending or the child has acted truant or when
done something wrong.
Or when something has gone wrong.
Wrong.
Because at that time the tempers are already flying.
Both the sides.
At both the sides. So nobody is really listening to each other.
True.
You have to build bridges in the times of peace and calm.
Absolutely.
Because only when you've done that will you be able to really talk to that parent when something goes wrong. And believe me, in the 15 years that parent and school share the relationship, something definitely goes wrong.
Obviously, a child will do something which is not right for the child, that we understand, but child is not understanding. As he said, second, third, fourth, fifth, 6 years, अगर वो बच्चा 5 मिनट शांति से बैठेगा ना, तो मुझे टेंशन होगी कि इस गड़बड़ है इस बच्चे में. पेरेंट को लगेगा कि ये शांति से क्यों नहीं बैठता है. So that is how the development of a child brain is.
Child's brain is. And to talk about the communication channels, recently we had an incident in the high school which involved a child crossing certain boundaries of ethical behavior and all of that, and we had to call the child, we investigated to understand what is happening and all of it. Things we found were really difficult for us to handle. But we called the parent and we shared that this is what we found about the child, etc., etc. And the parent said, you know, in my past all these years, this is the first time that you have that you have called me to tell me what my child has done wrong. All these years you have told me what he's been doing well in, what he's been doing good about, and I accept what that child has done wrong, and I appreciate the authenticity with which you are sharing. So, I mean, I was like so happy because most of the times the parent gets defensive, and then it becomes so difficult for us to handle it.
But why they have not become defensive? Because in the past they have experienced that which was different than what routine experience.
So the parent was convinced that if the school is calling me and telling me something, it is not out of just sheer bad will, which in most cases it is not so. But because the communication has not happened, the parent is convinced that, oh, it's only in the times of wrongdoing that I am summoned. School se phone aata, court se phone aata, वैसे लोग डर जाते हैं. It's like
it is other way around also. They feel like if fees भी है तो school खरीद लिया है.
हाँ, oh yeah, we happens
that
to
is
us.
also true.
Yeah.
That's valid everywhere.
That's a sense of entitlement. It's like, yes, what do you suggest we could reschool ourselves in?
So what I feel is, I'll just tell you that one experience which I had in my school, which I still remember out of everything, was we had moral science lectures.
Okay.
And that was that period which some of the people used to think this is a free period. You know? Enjoy. And it's going to, and it was actually like that. It was not moral science per se. Our teachers used to just read out stories from the chicken soup books and everywhere. So every grade used to have stories according to their perception, understanding, and the morals of the stories would tell them how you're not supposed to be discriminative, how you're not supposed to have certain, you know, I mean, if the, you know, feelings like jealousy, hatred, how they are harmful for your body. And when they would become teenagers, our teachers would openly talk about relationships. Let me tell you this, that how you're supposed to be.
You have been to a very good school and you're lucky to have been there.
In most cases, I will come back to it because my experience with moral science has been such that I had to actually make a video about saying, please stop. This in the name of moral science, because there's actually nothing that happened. The teacher comes and reads the story in the most boring format that you could think of and has the child write the moral. And I'm like, listen, the morals need to be derived.
By the child.
I know.
Morals
But,
need to
this
be
is-
imbibed. They cannot be prescribed.
Yeah. But this is my experience is that our teachers used to be very open about it, and there were therapists in our schools. We used to have a counseling psychologist in our schools, but majority of the students would go to the teachers because the validation which they probably don't get from their parents, they used to get it from the teachers. And in that particular period, it was used to be very open, very non-judgmental. Nobody would talk about it after that period. It was the continuation of this particular period this week. Next week it would used to be continued. In between, no child is allowed.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Wैसे what happens in moral
And
science?
we were taught about the good touch, the bad touch, how you are supposed to be in a relationship, how true you are supposed to be to yourself, to your partner, in our teenage years, in those years.
Oh, darling, I need to get the name of your school after this, and I need to go visit it.
This is something for teenagers. I mean, as a child also, we were taught certain things where, you know, a lot of things where you know how you're supposed to behave, how you are as a person, you know yourself, your purpose, a lot of things. Where you're a little sorted more, you know, you're not just telling somebody that do this, do that, don't do this. You have to yourself narrate and perceive out of that particular story what you want to become.
Wow.
So the character building used to happen from those moral science lectures, and I would, you know, if that
Yeah, we
can-
would love to start that as a practice. I mean, we have different forms of it, but this is a great takeaway for us. And with that, we come towards the end of it, and the end is very simple. Each one of us is going to ask one question, and because I've been asking questions to all of you, I'm not going to start. We can ask questions to each other. So if Yatri, you could ask question to him and and come back to me. We would just love to bring this to an end by learning from each other.
Okay. It's
And you can,
I have to start it?
yes,
Okay.
you can take your time, or he can start, and that's still okay.
Okay. So you daily see all the patients, like from children to adolescents, and you now said that you are taking, mostly you are seeing adolescent patients, right? So what is the common mental health issue which they have?
Today, the most common mental health issues that we come across is the digital addiction, the screen addiction, that is very, very common. Because I don't deal with those higher issues which you usually deal in regular day-to-day basis. बच्चे सुनते नहीं हैं, that is most common from parents. बच्चे को लगता है कि parents सुनते नहीं हैं, that is another most common thing that we come across. So I always say that there is no generation gap. There is a communication gap between two generations. If we can teach both of them how to listen, the communication becomes very easy. So this is what I usually tell them कि आप सुनना सीखो, communication
things will
अपने
take
आप हो
care of
जाएगा,
itself.
अपने आप हो जाएगा. और ज़्यादातर टीनेजर्स में इशू क्या है पता है, उनको कोई ऐसा ट्रस्टवर्दी एडल्ट नहीं मिलता है जो उनको नॉन जजमेंटल तरीके से सुन सके. घर में भी नहीं मिलता है, स्कूल में भी नहीं मिलता है, सोसाइटी में भी नहीं मिलता है. इसलिए काफ़ी सारे बच्चे अपने में बंद हो जाते हैं, एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट वो जो चलता रहता है ना, बातें नहीं कर सकते, इसलिए सारी चीज़ें एंग्जाइटी, डिप्रेशन, देन फॉलोड बाय एवरीथिंग हैपन्स. द रूट टू सब्सटेंस अब्यूज ऑल्सो स्टार्ट्स विद दिस, दैट इज़ व्हाट आई फील.
Yeah. And so do you think that they are ashamed of telling that to other people?
100%, because they are being judged because of that. They have, and even if I see a person with lot of tattoos in the body, I'll start judging immediately, but I'll stop myself. Why should I judge that person? That is his choice, his way of being. But because of that judgment, they are ashamed of themselves and telling to them. And that is why they need one trustworthy adult जो सिर्फ उनको सुने. And then they can take care of themselves very well.
So on that, I'll just tell you one thing to all the children, all the teenagers, is that even if they are ashamed of it, let me tell you, the most successful people, even if we stereotype it, they are somewhere damaged.
True.
and they have fought through it, and they have somewhere
Overcome
it, and they are at a position where they are peaking their potential. So I feel everybody has countered and everybody has encountered mental health. That is something which
Absolutely, but see how you take that is also very very important. एक ही घर में दो बच्चे एक साथ पले बड़े, एक पुलिस
आपका
ऑफिसर बना,
equation है ना वो
एक पुलिस ऑफिसर इज इक्वल टू
resilience वालों.
See, I've learned it.
बट एक पुलिस ऑफिसर बना और एक बैंक रॉबर बना, वो एक ही जगह पे, वो आप कैसे परसीव करते हो उस पे ऊपर बहुत ज़्यादा डिपेंडेंट होता है हमेशा. हाउ यू टेक इट.
Yeah, what's your question for him?
So I just wanted that you talk to many children of young and you talk it in a group. Do they come and talk to you about their personal things when you close your communication in the group?
My dad had started this thing with me. So while taking any public program, initially एक बार flow में निकल गया था कि don't worry, I'm standing with you.
Okay.
So dad liked that word very much. Even my team liked it. Okay. जोरदार बोले हाँ भाई. That was the first feel. So later that night my dad said me this thing, and mom was alive at that point of time. So mom said, let's do one thing. Come what may, whatever we earn or however financially we grow or not, come what may, whatever school we go or whatever institution we go, college go or organization, jata pehla, end karta pehla, I straight away say one line, and the line is something like this कि आप पहला स्टेप लो, आप कहीं पर भी अटकोगे, चाहे आपकी पर्सनल लाइफ हो, प्रोफेशनल लाइफ हो और कोई भी सेगमेंट के अंदर हो. जस्ट ट्रस्ट मी एंड टेक फर्स्ट स्टेप फॉर ग्रोथ एंड डेवलपमेंट. आप कहीं पर भी रुकोगे, राइट, आई एम अवेलेबल ऑन एवरी सोशल मीडिया. पिंग मी अप विद योर नेम, your identity will never get disclosed. But I might take 24 hours to reach you, but I am assuring you that you will get one reply, come what may, in 24 hours. So I have made one AI also. So it is going to get launched in November. AI Sajan Shah, artificial intelligence. So 500 बेसिक जो क्वेश्चन आंसर्स रहते हैं, तो उसको मैंने मेरा आंसर्स देके एल्गोरिथम को पैटर्न चेंज करके किया तो एटलीस्ट बेसिक उसको मिल जाए. एंड उसकी वजह से सर आज ऐसा है कि bare minimum any day I open my social media or Instagram, I'll have almost around 800-900 DMs of this. अच्छा कुछ बहुत बेकार होते हैं. The 9th grade kid is telling, I want to propose some girl, please help me out how to gain a self-confidence. So I have...
For that child, it's the most important thing.
At that moment.
I laughed out like anything at 3 a.m. when I'm reading something like this, but I loved his guts.
See, I tell you, kids of today's generation have lots of guts, and they are amazing. I mean, how much ever we bash them about being Gen Z or Alpha generation, they have a lot of guts. That is amazing. I never had it at my time. Never.
They have no inhibition.
No inhibition.
More than anything, I think they're just out there. They're like, yeah, what? You know?
शर्म आई गई थी मेरे तो रात वाची नहीं.
I was talking to a mother of 15 years. The 15-year was sitting next to her. And she was telling કે આપણે 15 વર્ષના હતા ત્યારે આપણને કશી ખબર નહોતી પડતી અને they know A to Z about everything. They know A to Z about everything. So that is what how the generation
they're very
is.
expressive. Very expressive.
Thank you.
My question for you is that, so I'm not doing the passing the parcel now, but I was very curious to ask you this thing because the opening line of this entire podcast was this, like it was expressing some emotional damage. This is the expression of the emotional damage. I went through when I lost my mom almost around 2 years back, and I understood the impact of emotional damage because I want to tell to all the participants or viewers of your podcast through you only, emotional damage either can break you or can make you. Very clear into it. So when I'm not able to understand your 3 quadrants. One is like a word reschool. Second, the quadrant is like impact and creativeness through that damage. What has been done and how combining both the things you are helping. Because help is a very right word because it's an unconditional thing what you are doing. So just out of curiosity, I wanted to.
Yeah. So what you're saying is you want to know that the loss that I've faced, how am I dealing with it and how am I using it to help others. Absolutely, or to make. Honestly, the loss is recent. The book is much older than that. It's not about what I'm making out of that loss. It's just in many ways I'm grateful that I have so many other people who can hold me when I faced that loss. But more importantly, I think it was a reminder of my so-called ignorance. I believed that I understood things. I believed that because we run schools and I understand mental health and all of that, I will be there for her. But I wasn't. And I couldn't be there. So yeah, it just pains me to kind of know that. And I hope I never have to, not just me, anybody never has to face.
It pains you?
It doesn't pain me to the extent where I can't handle it. But yes, the memory does.
But you can deal with it in two ways, I just
Okay.
tell you. One is it was destined that you will not be there when that person will go. Second, whenever you feel pain about that, that person is also feeling pain right now.
Oh,
So you will
Poor
have
thing.
you will have to be out of it immediately.
True.
And remember that person with lot of happiness and gratitude, and that will make you absolutely free from that issue.
yeah.
But ma'am,
Thank
what
you.
I
I will
feel-
try. हाँ, ये थकू नहीं.
But in my, what I feel is acknowledging this is a big success. I don't see this too much, acknowledging it, that you are ignorant towards something, understanding it and doing something out of it. It's a big thing.
Yeah.
So-
We try, but yeah.
પણ easy નથી હોતું ને.
નથી
હોતું.
Easy
I
નથી હોતું.
understand that.
Accept કરવું જ easy નથી હોતું.
એક્સેપ્ટ કરવાની હા અને પ્લસ બીજું કેવું છે કે ફોર એક્ઝામ્પલ I have gained almost around 14 kgs post my mom because of the emotional damage what I have got in my life. I realized this post is words, okay, this is what it is, but I don't think so. If people like us, like me, or might be you, or whomsoever is sitting on this couch, if it has become difficult for us, for layman it is quite a challenge.
Very difficult. Very.
It is impossible. It is
Absolutely,
impossible.
absolutely.
For everybody it is very difficult.
All right.
Yeah.
And with that, we come to an end. If, but I love talking, so I'll
We are
probably
going to
just.
get gifts.
Oh, yes, you will.
Thank you. It is also very good, but you should gift everyone.
Yeah. So we're going to make this like very crisp, but one movie or book that you suggest everyone should read, every adult should read.
See, when it
quick.
comes to movie, I'd say Three Idiots.
Okay.
So they just came out for you.
Okay.
If you ask me for the book, I'd say The Alchemist.
The Alchemist. Okay.
For me, it is Tare Zameen Par.
Okay.
All parents should watch again and again, again and again, again
Okay.
and again, so that you can take care of the children very well. And one book, You Can Heal Your Life by Louis Hay.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Amazing. What I was talking about psychosomatic,
Huh.
she has given everything in detail. Even if you have recurrent running nose, there is emotional blockage that you are carrying.
Oh.
So from head to toe, everything she has written very well. So
Yeah.
this is important.
I was recently suggested that book because I was to undergo a minor surgery and all that, and they
Okay.
said that if only I was told about. She's like, it's a little late for you to heal yourself now, but still read this book. At least your recovery will be much faster,
And you will not recur that thing
and
again.
it will not recur. So yeah, Louis Hay.
One movie, total Marvel fan, and I feel all the superheroes movies you should watch.
Avengers.
It gives hope, it gives way of life, way of living, and every other thing. Especially start with Spider-Man, big time fan, and
And in that, somehow there is a lot of morality.
absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Those who think positive, those who think that I can do it, will do it.
Will do
Those
it.
who have little bit of doubt, they will not be able to do it.
And the children see or imbibe those morals so easily from them
Yeah.
rather
Yeah,
than coming from other
absolutely.
scriptures.
Absolutely.
You know what are the sections in our school named? So you have your like grade 1 A, B, C hota hai. Our sections are named Wakanda, Atlantis,
Oh my God!
and Asgard.
I can study that also again.
They're called like Asgard, Wakandians. Everybody's like, I'm an Asgardian. I'm a
Yeah.
We had to name the section, so we are like, we might as well just name this if it makes them.
Absolutely.
And suddenly there are children who will probably come from other schools, not the young ones, but probably who come, transfer students who come from different schools, and when they see this section, suddenly they're like, oh, I like this school already. You don't have to do much.
Amazing.
But
Book is like, today is the day. James Towell is the author, is a blind author. He has made me understand motivation never works. Come what may, even if I'm a motivational speaker, there are only two rules. Number one, either you will make your day or your day will make you. End of the day, you should get a sound sleep. So
Great.
don't get into any other
so
philosophy.
thank you so much for being a
Thank
part
you
of
so
this
much,
and
ma'am.
making our day.
Ma'am, yeah.
Oh yes,
I'm seeing
I
you.
have been asking questions to you forever, so I was
She's a
like,
very good doctor.
oh yes, she
She
is.
is observation.
I have been asking, let me think of one. Or even you could help, you can ask her, that's not a problem. Yeah, I would suggest one of you ask her a question because I have asked her so many.
But તમે તમારું movie તો બોલો.
A movie and or a book? A movie, I think, so I'm a movie buff. So me and my family, we talk in dialogues. We are constantly like, you know, Paresh Rawal and all of those live in our houses kind of thing. So I don't think there's one movie, but anything that makes you laugh is okay with me.
One movie is compulsory.
One movie is compulsory.
You made us all ponder. You also have to answer.
Okay. So I have the book first probably, and because I deal with a lot of parents, the one book I would want all parents to read is one that's called How to Raise an Adult. A lot of times we end up raising children and patronize them and make them more children-like. But this is a very interesting book which says how to raise an adult. So that's a very interesting book. And as far as the movies go, damn, I'm like completely lost. Blanked out. But Tare Zameen Par definitely, but that's again being prescriptive.
There is no cheating. It is
Haan, okay, then I'd say DDLJ. It's like anytime you go anytime, there's like a ear-to-ear smile that you get, and it just makes the world so much better. It's like Ja Simran Ja.
Liberation.
Yeah, it's just liberating to think about it, and maybe it's just nostalgia on my part. But,
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Actually, one question of her is left. Can I ask? Yeah. So, being a rebellious kid, how do you feel like when some mental patient who is also rebellious? So, how do you feel like? You feel like?
I always feel that dude, you'll make it. This is one thing I always feel.
I know how this goes.
Right now,
This is my experience.
Yeah, you're feeling that, you know, everything has fallen apart, and right now you're feeling that you're the worst child ever. Everybody is just constantly telling you, but one day you'll make it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you'll make it, and you'll see that everybody else does, and see, you know, just watches you there.
There is a difference. Yeah.
Well, that's it from our end. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
being
so
a
much.
part of this.
Thank you so much.
Like always, it's been a pleasure to meet people and to know so much more that exists in our lives. Thank you.